Have you ever heard the saying, history is written by the victors? Well, sometimes it's also written in the ink of broken promises and failed peace treaties. We often think of treaties as the final chapter of a conflict, the moment everyone breathes a sigh of relief. But what if I told you that some of the most famous peace deals in history were nothing more than a prelude to even bloodier wars? Today, we're diving into the dramatic and often tragic stories of peace treaties that spectacularly backfired, proving that the road to hell is sometimes paved with good intentions. In a poorly drafted document, let's travel back to the year 09 AD. The mighty Roman Empire, under Emperor Augustus, is pushing its borders ever deeper into Germania. The local tribes are fragmented, and Roman victory seems inevitable. A young Germanic nobleman named Arminius, who was raised in Rome and even served in its army, appears to be a key ally. The Roman governor, Publius Quinctilius Varus, trusts him completely. He sees Arminius as the bridge between Roman civilization and the barbarian tribes. Varus's plan is simple: finalize the conquest, establish Roman law, and tax the locals. He marches 3 of Rome's finest legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th deep, into the Teutoburg forest, guided by none other than Arminius himself. This was supposed to be a routine march, a show of force to seal the deal on Roman dominance. But Arminius was playing a long game. He'd spent years secretly forging an alliance between the warring Germanic tribes, uniting them with a single goal: to drive Rome out forever. He wasn't a collaborator. He was the mastermind of a massive ambush. In the dense, muddy terrain of the forest, where the Romans' disciplined formations were useless, Arminius's united tribes struck. For 3 long days, the Romans were harassed, ambushed, and slaughtered. It was a complete catastrophe. Varus, seeing no escape, took his own life. An estimated 20,000 Roman soldiers were lost. The peace Varus thought he was securing through a trusted ally turned into one of Rome's most devastating military defeats. The news sent shockwaves through the empire. Emperor Augustus was said to have banged his head against a wall, crying, "Quinctilius Varus, give me back my legions." The dream of conquering Germania was shattered. The Rhine River became the permanent frontier of the Roman Empire for the next 400 years. This wasn't just a broken deal. It was a betrayal that redrew the map of Europe and defined the limits of the world's greatest power. It shows how trust, when misplaced, can be the deadliest weapon of all. Now, let's fast forward a few centuries to 1066, a year every British school kid knows. The King of England, Edward the Confessor, dies without an heir, leaving a massive power vacuum. 3 men believe they have a claim to the throne. First, there's Harold Godwinson, the most powerful earl in England, who was elected king by the English council. Second, Harald Hardrada, the fearsome king of Norway, a Viking with a blood claim. And third, William, the Duke of Normandy in France. Here's where the broken treaty comes in. Years earlier, Harold Godwinson was shipwrecked on the coast of Normandy and taken captive by William. To secure his release, Harold allegedly swore a sacred oath on holy relics, promising to support William's claim to the English throne after Edward's death. This was a huge deal in the 11th century. Oaths made on relics were binding contracts with God. But when the time came, Harold took the crown for himself. In his mind, an oath made under duress wasn't valid. To William, it was the ultimate betrayal. William wasn't going to let this slide. He secured the Pope's blessing for an invasion, framing it as a holy crusade to punish an oathbreaker. He built a massive fleet and prepared his army. Meanwhile, Harold Godwinson had his hands full. Harald Hardrada invaded from the north, and Harold had to march his army all the way up to Stamford Bridge to defeat the Vikings in a brutal battle. But just as he was celebrating, news arrived. William had landed in the south, exhausted and depleted. Harold's army marched 240 miles back down to face the Normans. The 2 sides met near a small town called Hastings. The Battle of Hastings was a grueling day-long affair. It ended with Harold Godwinson famously taking an arrow to the eye and William the Conqueror seizing the English throne. The Norman conquest completely transformed England, its language, its culture, its government, its entire social structure. Idwell started with a peace deal and a promise that one man made and another man broke. It's a powerful reminder that in the Game of Thrones, Personal honor and political ambition rarely mix. Now for our final and perhaps most infamous example, the Treaty of Versailles. Signed in 1919, this was the document that officially ended World War I, the war to end all wars. The leaders of the victorious Allied powers Britain, France, and the United States gathered in Paris with a noble goal: to create a lasting peace. President Woodrow Wilson of the U.S. championed his 14 points, a vision for a just and fair world order. But France and Britain, having suffered immense losses, had other ideas. They wanted revenge. They wanted to punish Germany and make sure it could never threaten Europe again. The final treaty was a brutal compromise. Germany was forced to accept full responsibility for the war, the infamous war guilt clause. It lost huge chunks of territory, its colonies were seized, and its military was severely restricted. But the most crushing blow was the reparations. Germany was ordered to pay an astronomical sum to the Allies, equivalent to hundreds of billions of dollars today. The German delegation was horrified. They weren't allowed to negotiate. They were simply told to sign or face a renewed invasion. They called it the Diktat, the dictated peace. Back in Germany, the treaty was seen as a national humiliation. The economy, already fragile after the war, collapsed under the weight of the reparations. Hyperinflation ran rampant. People's life savings became worthless overnight. This created a fertile breeding ground for extremism. Political instability and resentment simmered, and into this chaos stepped a young, charismatic politician named Adolf Hitler. His message was simple and powerful. The Treaty of Versailles was a betrayal. He promised to tear it up, restore German pride, and reclaim Germany's rightful place in the world. The treaty, designed to prevent another war, did the exact opposite. It created the perfect conditions for the rise of Nazism and the outbreak of World War II, a conflict even more devastating than the first. Many historians now agree that the harsh terms of Versailles were a catastrophic mistake. It teaches us a crucial lesson. Peace cannot be built on a foundation of humiliation and revenge. A true and lasting peace requires justice, forgiveness, and a path for the defeated to rebuild, not a punishment that plants the seeds for future conflict. From the forests of Germania to the fields of Hastings and the grand halls of Versailles, history is littered with the wreckage of peace treaties that failed. They show us that a signature on a piece of paper means nothing without genuine trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision for the future. These stories aren't just fascinating historical footnotes. They are powerful warnings. They remind us that the path to peace is incredibly fragile, and that the deals we make today can have consequences that echo for generations. Thank you so much for watching. What other failed treaties do you think changed the course of history? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another journey through history. See you next time.